Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be responding to the 5 Stupid Things About Ayn Rand video by Steve Shives, which I'm going to try not to get too annoyed at this video because this dude kind of triggers me, to be 100% honest, but it's okay. I hope it's in good faith. I think it probably is in good faith, and I think a lot of people just don't understand her philosophy very well, and it leads to videos like this being produced. But I'll go ahead and watch it. And try not to get too angry at it. God, I just love the title. Wow. Sounds very good faith.
Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about Ayn Rand. Yeah, I still feel like shit, but I wouldn't have missed this one for anything. She was a piss-poor writer.
Oh God. I don't even know how to fucking respond to this, because I just simply cannot understand people who read an Ayn Rand book and don't feel that sense of like feeling inspired and like feeling like the characters represent something inspiring. And I don't know. I'm not someone who can like analyze books very well and like tell you exactly why. I just know the feelings that I got from it, and the feeling of inspiration that I got, and this lack of understanding of how some people can't feel that same inspiration. Do they just view their life as like not deserving of happiness? Do they view their mind as so low? Do they view other people as so low? Do they view the nature of man as that low that they can't achieve the things that Rand talked about? I don't know. But we'll listen to this. I don't know if I'll have much to say, but we'll see.
Rand's detractors, among whose number I am proud to count myself, spend so much time attacking her infantile, self-indulgent philosophy that we sometimes forget to mention what a shitty fucking writer she was, with her duller-than-dirt prose and her ventriloquist dummy characters. John Rogers, writing on his blog...
I mean... I don't get how people can view her characters as like very dry, and there's a lot of like emotional conflict within them. There's a lot within these characters. They're very much larger than life. I get that, but it's because she's portraying ideals here. She's portraying ideal characters. She's not trying to portray like naturalism and people as they actually are, because that wouldn't be as interesting. That wouldn't actually be showing like the full extent of characters following their philosophy. But I think what she's showing is like very profound conflicts between people, that like internal conflicts inside of people that are fairly common. Like, I mean, if you look at Reardon with the sexual stuff, where he feels conflicted about everything in that book, like all the Reardon self-conflicts related to sex, and I mean, Dagny's conflict about whether or not to leave behind this world that's like basically living off of her, that she's basically carrying. But yeah, I find these conflicts to be interesting, and I find the characters to not be very dry and ventriloquist up. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe he'll explain a little bit.
Kung Fu Monkey in 2009 had this to say, quote, "There are 2 novels that can change a bookish 14-year-old..."
This quote, oh my God. He's not offering anything, it's just attacks.
...old's life.
Holy shit.
The Lord of the Rings and Atlas Shrugged. One is a childish fantasy that often engenders a lifelong obsession with its unbelievable heroes, leading to an emotionally stunted, socially crippled adulthood unable to deal with the real world. The other...
Unable to deal with the real world. Alright. I mean, that doesn't... God, I just know that my experience with objectivism and understanding it has helped me understand the world a lot more and live a much more fulfilling life. But he's just like saying it doesn't, which doesn't make any fucking sense. So, but whatever.
Of course, involves orcs. So, about that infantile, self-indulgent philosophy. The biggest problem with Ayn Rand's philosophy is that she presents it in her novels in this fictional world that she has created explicitly.
Exactly, that's what romanticism is, buddy. It's the point. That's the whole point. You're creating like a romanticized world to portray ideas in, to portray these characters in. You can't really portray a philosophy. I mean, it is based on reality in the sense that her philosophy is based on reality, and this is like ultimately what, if philosophies are followed to their ultimate conclusion, this is what the world would look like. But ultimately, philosophies aren't necessarily followed to their ultimate conclusion, and there's characters generally don't have people in the real world don't generally have a specific like one guiding worldview, one guiding principle that's super well integrated. But what she does is she's creating these characters that have these things so that she can discuss these ideas and talk about these philosophies in a way that makes more sense and is more clear than any sort of naturalistic fiction.
For the purpose of showcasing that philosophy. When you remove it from its native fictional home and you try to apply it to the real world, it fairly quickly becomes obvious for what it actually is, which is...
Okay, I hope he explains it. I hope he actually explains it this time. Because notice what he's doing right here. He's making a lot of really strong claims, but he's not backing them up yet. So this I feel like can, he's making very confident, strong claims. Don't be deceived by the confidence. People can talk very confident all the time and not actually provide arguments. And that they sound very convincing. But just be warned, wait for an argument.
Which is an apology for narcissism.
An apology for narcissism. Okay. Explain that one, please.
Rand believed that society reduced down to the individual, and that...
Which is absolutely true. Only individuals make up a society. There's not some collective organism known as society that just has these individual cells known as individuals. That's an incoherent worldview. Because that's like the nature of reality is that there's individual people who have their own individual minds, own individual experience, own individual happiness. But let's see where he goes from this.
The individual's participation in society should never be compulsory. It should always be voluntary.
Sure, I'm not a big fan of using force on people. I don't think we should necessarily involve the government and use force on people's minds, because that prevents them from living as human beings, since reason is man's means of survival. But here, we can keep going.
The problem with that is that that's not really how societies work. Societal participation is never truly voluntary. It never can be.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that society can force people to live a certain way, that they can stifle their means of survival. Society should be a general good for you. So you should use society to your advantage. You should make trades. That's the purpose of society, is making trades with other individuals, whether that be spiritual or material. And it's also gaining knowledge. It's accumulating knowledge throughout centuries, because without a society, you don't have the knowledge from like Newton and stuff. That doesn't get passed down to you. So you have to start from scratch every generation, which doesn't work very well. So that's you get a lot of value from society. This is very explicit in Rand's philosophy. She never argues against being part of society.
What other people do affects you. What you do affects other people. There's no getting around that. Plus...
Exactly. So then don't force people, affect other people in a positive way, not by using force, by making win-win transactions. That's trade. So essentially, you're not really arguing against Rand's points here.
Plus, without society, an individual is powerless, and in the absence...
Exactly. Rand is not an anti-society. Actually learn what her philosophy represents before attacking us.
Of society, sacrosanct Randian concepts like private property rights have no meaning whatsoever. There's just no such...
Yeah, exactly. You need a government to enforce private property rights. What? Rand's not an ANCAP. Oh my god. This is terrible. Wow, this is like, you're not arguing with your philosophy at all. Holy shit.
Thing is a true, absolute Randian individualist. Some people
You don't know what a Randian individualist is, dog. Holy shit. I'm just gonna. I'm cutting it every second. Now, I'll let him finish his points, and we'll see if there's anything else I need to respond to, because he's not actually arguing with her philosophy. God, I'm glad I'm making this video just so that people who watch this video can look at this and see that what he's arguing makes no sense at all. But this is not fun for me to make this video because I'm not actually getting to argue about Rand's philosophy.
people need less help than others to get where they're going. Some people need more. But whoever you are and wherever you are, in your business, in your education, in your personal life, you did not get there all by yourself. You needed help from someone somewhere along the line. You might
Sure, that's true in the sense that you like trade with people, and I'm also not opposed to like like charity for people that where it's like something that's some unjust failure based on your life. I'm not opposed to that. I'm opposed to forcing everyone to give to charity to everyone else who might possibly need it. A need is not a claim on your life, because you should get to choose where to spend your own wealth, who you should help out. Even if you've been helped by people, you were helped by individual people. You weren't helped by society in general. So you don't have an obligation to society in general. It's individual people that helps you. So you can go and help individual people who have unjust circumstances, but you don't have some duty to give to everybody. You don't have some duty to give to everybody who needs it. That doesn't make sense, because there's some people who are poor for just reasons, and those people don't deserve my money. But the people who are poor for unjust reasons, they probably do they not deserve, they don't have a right to it, but I would be very willing to give them some of my money, because I think I don't want to live in an unjust society. I want to live in a society where people don't randomly fall behind for completely unjust and random reasons. So that's why I would be willing to help people. And that's very similar to what Rand believes. But yeah, let's move on.
might not like that, but that is life. She glorified the wealthy and demonized the poor. In this
Well, shit. I was kind of just talking about this with my last point. So Rand is in favor of charity. She's not in favor of forced welfare for everybody that needs it. Because not everybody who's poor is there for unjust reasons. Now let's go ahead.
this world, there are lazy, mediocre successes, and there are brilliant, hardworking failures. Not
Exactly. So these lazy successes, I don't really care about. They're successful. They can live their own life. They can do whatever the fuck they want. I'm not really jealous of people. I don't feel a deep-seated jealousy for people. So I don't think that we need to take all their money because we think that they're lazy and didn't get their success super justly, I guess. I'm happy when people are successful in general. I think there'd be, in a purely free market society, I think there'd be a lot less lazy successes, because parasitism is a lot harder without government help and without arbitrary government handouts, I guess. And I also think that a lot more hardworking people would be able to find success. However, there's still going to be some unjust failures. So that means, so I'd be willing to give them charity. I think most people should give them charity. I think that's probably a good thing, because we value justice. We value justice in the society. But I don't think there's also would be a lot of the lazy people end up being poor. That's generally how it works in a capitalist system, because capitalism rewards reason. Capitalism rewards you knowing the proper way to be profitable and knowing the proper way to improve your own life. So yeah, hard work is generally rewarded under capitalism. Not always. There's a few exceptions, and those few exceptions will be helped by charity. But I wouldn't necessarily say the overwhelming rule, but a decent chunk of poor people are poor because of laziness. And now, I'm not saying poor people are poor because of laziness. I'm saying a section of them are. And that section, because they exist, we should not have mandatory welfare for all of them. So, yeah, let's go ahead.
Not so in Ayn Rand's world. To Rand, laissez-faire capitalism was a system that allowed the best and the smartest and the hardest working to rise to the top and achieve success. And if you didn't achieve success, well, that was only because you lacked the natural gifts or the work ethic of the most successful people. And woe be to you in Ayn Rand's world if, as someone who wasn't so financially successful, you ever asked for or accepted help from society when you found yourself in.
Not true. Rand was okay with charity as long as it was for the purpose of helping people who were under unjust circumstances. And I've explained that multiple times throughout this video. But, I mean, obviously he can't hear me, so he's not going to respond to that. But that's the thing. Now, she does have a good point, I think, about capitalism in general rewarding ability and punishing laziness. But I do agree there's going to be some circumstances where there's going to be, where someone who is lazy will unjustly become rich, which I'm not jealous, so I don't necessarily care about that. Or where someone hardworking will become poor, which I think there's a very rational reason to give to charity because of that, if you value justice, which any rational person would.
Dire financial straits, because after all, altruism, according to Rand, was an evil doctrine. You had no right to expect other people to give up their labor and their.
Yeah, you have no right to expect that. There's no duty to give up your stuff. There's no duty for that because it's your own life. You have the right to your own life, to pursue your own life, and you have your own experience, your own potential for happiness, your own requirements for living, it's your own thoughts that produced your property and all your happiness. It's not necessarily all of it, because I do agree that there's some aspects that we do take from society, like we have trades and we have knowledge that we gain from other people, and sometimes we do go through unjust circumstances where someone will give us something, and I find it very hard to accept those sort of things because I don't like accepting the unearned, and I think in general that's how a lot of people will be, but sometimes if you do need it, I think you probably should accept it. And I definitely think if someone needs it and they were under unjust circumstances, you should give to charity. But you have no duty to. It should not be forced, and you're not considered any less moral if you don't.
Their property in order to help you, and no one had any right to make that request of you either. As I said in the last bit, that Randian concept, that ideal individualism, is impossible in addition to being inhumane and contemptible. But it gets even better when you know something else about Ayn Rand. She took Social Security and Medicare.
Oh my fucking god. For this one, just go read her essay. She wrote an essay about this, explaining it. If you view it as not necessarily having a right to that money, and simply view it as a refund of the money that you paid in taxes, it's okay because it's in your self-interest. But if you view it as something that's moral and just, is having the right to that money, because other people have a duty to support you, well, then it's immoral because of the way you view it. Because you view it as, yes, these people I have the right to force these people to give me this money. But if it's a refund, then it's okay. I mean, that's essentially what she said. You can go read her essays if you want to find that. I think it's, what's the essay called? I'm going to look it up real quick. No, that's not it. Ayn Rand on taking Social Security. I'll find the essay for you guys. This might be it. It's somewhere in here. I'm struggling to find this right now. Uh, huh. All right. I can't find it right now at the moment. I'm finding stuff by like Onkar, but I know there's an essay somewhere about this. Uh, Ayn Rand essay. I don't know. This is it. Yep, this is the one. I think this is it. It's loading right now. I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is right. The question of scholarships. That's the essay. I believe that's the one. But this is the one where she basically explains a lot of the stuff that he's attacking her for. She explains why it's okay to take Medicare and Social Security if you view it as just simply like getting back your money that you had forcibly taken from you. But okay, so let's move on.
Sure, the Randroids have defended her by saying that she spoke out in favor at one point of accepting Social Security and Medicare benefits because you're really just getting your own money back. And I mean, what could it benefit society if you're taxed and had this money stolen from you and then you don't take it back for yourself? I mean, what happens to the money then? Does it go to help other poor people? Fuck that.
You have no right to be forced to give to charity. That's fucked up.
They also say that she didn't wind up taking that much of a Social Security or a Medicare benefit
That's not
after
really
all.
anyone's
Rand's
argument.
defenders also point out how difficult it is to actually opt out of taking
That's
Social
also not
Security and
anyone's
Medicare
argument.
benefits, and
Just
maybe we
read her
should just,
essay.
cut her some slack.
Read the
Although
essay
I
that
do
I
know
cited.
that her fellow libertarian leading ladies, Rose Wilder Lane and Isabel Patterson, somehow managed to opt out of taking Social Security and Medicare in their lives. Wonder why that was. The main reason why Rand ultimately took Social Security and Medicare was that she needed some help with her medical bills because she developed lung cancer after decades of smoking. One of the reasons why she smoked for so long is that she considered the scientific evidence demonstrating a link between smoking and cancer to be a hoax.
I agree that was probably a mistake on her part, and I'll admit that she was probably wrong on that. I don't necessarily agree with everything Rand ever believed because I do think for myself, but yeah, I largely do defend Rand, and I mean, Peikoff, once you actually realized that the problems that were caused by smoking, he quit immediately. And I do think that Rand would have done something similar if she was given enough like rational evidence. I think she was somewhat rationally skeptical of a lot of like the government push back on it, but I don't know. I think she was probably wrong on this. I think a lot of it, yeah, she was definitely wrong, and she probably should not have smoked.
Not so good with the perceiving of the reality, Ayn Rand.
Shut the fuck up. Hell no. You gotta that. I mean, that was a decent roast, but like it doesn't actually really address any of her philosophy. Because her philosophy seems to perceive reality pretty well. You didn't really have any good arguments against that. You did have a good ad hom attack on her, but hey, okay. We're almost done.
She inspired generations of selfish assholes.
Source, please. I would like a source. But all right. You can make these claims all you fucking want, but we'll just listen. We'll hear them out.
Shooting these videos while I'm sick has been an educational experience. I mean, this must be what it's like for Diane Rehm every day. Anyway, Ayn Rand. I've long held that Ayn Rand is a perfectly fine place to pass through, but a really, really bad place to end up. I mean, if you are that bookish 14-year-old that John Rogers mentioned in that quote I read in the first bit, and you
only 14-year-olds read Ayn Rand and like Ayn Rand because Ayn Rand is not sophisticated philosophy. Shut the fuck up.
open up a copy of
Make a real argument, dog.
Atlas Shrugged or The Virtue of Selfishness, and you read it and you go, oh, hey, this makes sense. You can be forgiven. I mean, at least you're reading and thinking, and you're 14. What the fuck do you know about anything? But
how are you so much older and you still don't know anything about anything? Fucking dumbass. God damn. You don't know her philosophy. Why are you so... I don't get how someone can be so fucking critical of a philosophy they don't even fucking understand. I mean, if you look back through this video, he obviously does not understand her philosophy. And he's just making this long-ass video about her without understanding anything about her or her philosophy. But, whatever.
if 10 years go by and now you're 24 and you're still reading Atlas Shrugged and you're still saying, this makes sense, odds are you're not nearly as thoughtful and intelligent and well-read as you think you are. And you're probably also an insufferable prick. Look, I'm not a libertarian, but I'm not saying...
Ayn Rand's not a libertarian either, but she's very critical of libertarians. But yeah, you're just... I mean, this is like... Okay, this is just straight ad hom attacking. You sound really confident, but you're not making any real arguments here. Please make an argument. I'm desperate. Make a good argument against Rand. I would love to hear one. I am very open to changing my beliefs. I used to be very religious. Like, very strongly Catholic. Now I'm completely different. If someone makes a good argument against Rand, I will hear it, and I will change my philosophy accordingly. But that's simply something I've never heard yet. But if I hear a good enough one, I will change. I will completely change my philosophy, and this YouTube channel will become a channel where I discuss that philosophy instead. And I do probably have my disagreements with a lot of objectivists too. I consider myself a fairly free thinker, but you're very, very close-minded to Rand without understanding her philosophy, and it doesn't work for you. You're not actually making good arguments against Rand here. I know you think you are because you sound really fucking confident. And I'm sure a lot of people hear your bullshit and think, oh wow, he's confident. He must know what he's talking about. And the confidence without argument tends to be a fairly strong method of convincing people, I've noticed. And I notice myself somewhat getting convinced by that at times. And I'm like, and then I actually just zoom out and think, what is this person's actual argument? And then you realize that it's just vapid nonsense half the time. And you're just making very strong claims without actually providing a lot of good argument. And that's one thing that really has annoyed me with a lot of YouTube and has kind of pushed me to get on YouTube and make arguments and try to make better arguments than all these other people. Because I do think that I do have better arguments than other people, and I do think I'm more thought out than these other people. I don't necessarily sound as confident as them half the time, but that's because I have somewhat of nuance and I'm somewhat skeptical of some of my beliefs, and I'm looking for reality. I'm looking for the truth. And I can't say that about these guys. They seem to have an ideology that they're pushing for and are not necessarily willing to change their mind, and they're not necessarily willing to think much deeper, and they just sound confident and spew platitudes of just vapid nonsense but they sound super confident, so they get subscribers and convince people. But whatever, we'll keep going. There's 25 seconds left.
That there isn't a legitimate philosophical and academic foundation underlying libertarianism. I'm just saying Ayn Rand ain't a part of it. The hardest part is only picking...
She is not part of it, but yeah. She's not a libertarian. Libertarians, I don't know, she could be part of that general school of just like freedom and individualism, but she's not really a libertarian. Libertarians are a lot less philosophical. Well, they're still fairly philosophical, but they're not as like ethically focused as Rand is. But yeah, we'll continue the video.
Chicken 5. Catch you next time.
All right, I think that's it for this video. Very long video, but I think I got some good stuff to say, and hopefully you see this video after watching 5 Stupid Things About Ayn Rand, and yeah, we'll see. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.